Hi there, Serial Trader here. Let's have a look at crude oil. It's been quite a while since I've touched on this chart, but you'll recall earlier this year I was working this longer term bear market in crude oil that at some point would reassert itself once we complete our three-wave move up in this large degree wave 4. And you see we did a very clear three-wave advance off the bottom here at roughly that $26 level. So the overall, this is the monthly chart, so a multi-year monthly chart. So from our all-time high there on crude, which was in 2008, we did our 5 waves down for a larger wave A. We did our 3-wave advance for this larger B. Now we've been working this C wave down, and within that C wave down, we've got our 1 down, 2 up, 3 down, which was the bottom there in 2016 at around $26. And now we've just recently completed our 3-wave corrective wave 4 up here. And now it appears we've resumed the overall downtrend, and we're nearing completion of perhaps wave 1 of larger 5-wave sequence to complete wave C. So 1 of C looking mature. Now you might say, well, wait a minute, how could this be a 4 to this 1-2? We have a little bit of overlap here. And that's true, but if you actually look at close-only chart, there was no overlap on a monthly closing basis here. And I think if you look at other time frames as well, weekly or daily closing basis, there's no overlap here. So this is a perfectly acceptable 1, 2, 3, 4, and now working 5 down. And on such a large time frame, closing prices certainly have more validity. So I thought I'd just point that out. But yeah, very clear 3-wave move from wave 3, and clearly breaking out of this corrective channel that we were in, and strongly going down now, very strongly, almost surprisingly strong for some. Now this is the monthly chart. Let's go with the daily chart. Now that we have the overall outlook established and that this larger downtrend has now reasserted itself, and eventually, this implies we're going to go be below that $26 low roughly that we saw in wave 3, and I have some targets that are around the $9 or $10 range. Whether we get there or not remains to be seen. I think there's a good chance we will, but certainly to meet or exceed that $26 low, that's kind of a minimum objective at this point on this larger time frame. Now going to the daily chart, let me just clean the scale up here. So going to the daily chart, we have a very clear impulse wave to the downside in progress. And I mean, there's a few different ways you could label the subdivisions here, but I think this works okay. We got our initial 1 down, very shallow 2 up, and then clearly a 3rd wave down. It, went the fastest and traveled the largest distance in price. Then we had this sideways wave 4 triangle. If you go on the 4-hour chart, you can see a very clear ABCDE wave 4 triangle, and now coming down, and it looks like you can almost count 5 waves down within this wave 5. So we might have a bottom here around $45 or so. If not, the bottom probably isn't too far off at this point, as we are thrusting off a triangle, which is always, the final move in a sequence before we'd be expecting some sort of large degree wave 2 rally here, perhaps to test the underside of this channel that we just had broken out of and find resistance there where it was, support formerly. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here, very close to a bottom. On the daily chart here, we got extremely oversold in RSI, and now we've made a new low in price without a new low in RSI, so a bullish divergence there. Same thing with the MACD, a bullish divergence on MACD, new low in price, but not a new low on those moving averages. Now the thing is, a divergence alone is not enough to be looking for a bottom, but in this case, since we are working a very mature looking 5 waves down, we have a wave 4 triangle, which is good information because that always precedes the final move in a sequence, in this case a wave 5 thrust. So the fact that we have a very mature looking wave count, we have bullish divergence, and all signs are basically pointing that there should be some sort of significant pivot here and a sizable counter trend rally up, perhaps to well, if we just do some, let's say the bottom is in currently, not saying it is, but pretend it is, and we do, just a couple fib levels from there. So I'll put up some common levels, and even just the 382 retracement would bring us up to 57 from currently around 45. So over a $10 move. The 50% retracement would get us up to over $61, and then the 618 would get us close to $65, and we'd be testing the underside of this channel that we broke out of. So despite oil being overall back into a bearish trend, obviously, I'm definitely expecting a significant counter trend rally. Certainly worth trying to position for and trade. And then at this point, once you had a mature looking 3 waves up, that'd be the next short sale candidate, and you'd want to go short to catch wave 3 down, right? Or buy put options, or however you want to play it. So I'll get rid of that fib thing there. But this looks pretty good. I mean, I really like the clarity here. Very clear 3 up on this larger time frame, and now we've clearly reestablished a new downtrend. Looking to put in 5 waves down here, either already complete or nearly so. And from a trading perspective, the current trade I'm looking for is to catch some of this counter trend rally to the upside, and then at that point be looking to get short again here. Now let's go to the thinkorswim candlestick chart and just have a look here. Now all I really want to show is candlesticks. Okay, let me just sort this out. All right. So from a candlestick perspective, obviously we're oversold on the oscillator, although that hasn't meant much throughout this decline. But now it means something because we do have a mature-looking wave count with a thrust out of a triangle, so I like that. This is the daily chart, by the way. There's no candlestick buy signal yet. We're still below the daily T-line and the 3 T-lines below the T-line. We have a death cross on crude, so the 50-day is well established below the 200-day, and they're both currently down at this point. So overall, bearish in crude on that larger trend, but certainly looking for a significant counter trend rally soon. Hard to call that bottom, but it looks very near. I can't see it. Can we hit $40 before we bottom? Maybe, but I kind of doubt we'll go that low before bottoming. I like the idea that we already have one, or very close to it, around $45 here. So that's the daily chart, candlestick chart for crude. Let's see if there's anything on the weekly worth mentioning. So on the weekly, no signals here, well below the weekly T-line and 3 T-line, and everything's pointing down. In fact, we lost that 200-week moving average as well. That didn't offer any support, really. And on the monthly, anything to point out here? Okay, well, at this point, 3 red months, including the current month we're in. And if we go back, let me just bring up a larger amount of time. Okay, so going back, well, it's not extraordinary to have 3 months in a row during these big bearish trends. So from that all-time high, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months in a row we went lower on these candles. So that was an extraordinary move, obviously. And here we had, this is that wave 3 of 3 portion of the last decline, which was substantial. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down months in a row before it was interrupted for a counter trend rally. So 7 seems to be kind of the maximum that history has provided here for down months in a row, and currently we're only at 3. So that's nothing to go off of. But looks like we're very, very overdue for some sort of, at least a daily counter trend move here. So that's kind of the trade to be watching at the moment. Looking for a sizable counter trend move, and at that point, once we have a mature looking, ABC up of some sort, or some sort of corrective rally, as long as it looks corrective. Say we come into a Fibonacci zone, say we hit the 50 or the 618, which would be kind of ideal, and start finding resistance there. That would be the next, larger swing trade setup to position for more downside. But yeah, currently liking some shorter term, temporary upside here. If this thing can just catch a bid and finally bottom, looks very close, if not already in place. All right, well, we'll look at crude again if something compelling happens. But that's kind of my take on it for now. All right, Serial Trader signing off.